These are things you need to know. If you get a Harley-Davidson with a 4-speed gearbox in it, this is how you make your clutch work properly every time. So that was just a normal clutch release. You saw how that bike lunged. I call it clutch drag. People call it different things. I think one thing we can all agree on is it's a pain in the ass. Because especially if you're riding a kickstart only bike, you let your clutch out in the intersection in traffic like that, a lot of times it's going to stall the bike. Now you got to kickstart your bike in traffic. It's just a really bad situation to be in. So I'm going to show you how I fix it for Harley Big Twin Flathead, Knucklehead, Panhead, Shovelhead, and even sometimes the Evo chopper. All right away, as soon as I pull the clutch lever on this bike, I can see what my problem is. As I pull the clutch lever, the pressure plate comes out and allows space between the clutch discs and allows you for some slip. As soon as I release the clutch lever, the clutch springs push the plate back in and create your clutch pressure that holds the horsepower from the engine to the gearbox. But let me show you what's happening. As I pull the lever, the whole clutch basket is coming out. The clutch basket you want to stay in. So all this movement in the clutch basket, if you can see it moving in and out there, as I put my finger on it, when I pull the clutch lever, the whole basket's walking out too, and it's taking up that space that allows for your clutch slip. So this is a really common problem with the 4-speed clutch on Harley-Davidsons. I've been riding for over 35 years and seen it a million times, fixed hundreds of them. So if you're riding an old Harley-Davidson with a 4-speed clutch, this is something you need to know. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this clutch adjustment nut. The reason I'm going to do that is, if you take these 3 nuts off, this outer spring plate will come off, but then the springs fall out everywhere. So what I always do is screw the adjuster stud out a little bit and put a big washer that I have a bunch of these. You know, I just find them in my washer bin. You can use a valve spring retainer, and anything that's suitable size will work. And I go ahead and screw that on. And then when I take these other 3 nuts off, there's my whole clutch spring pressure plate assembly all together. I'll have to fight trying to get these springs back together when I go to reassemble it. So this is an old Harley-Davidson mechanics trick. I'm sure a lot of you know it. Maybe some of you don't, but I thought I'd show it to you either way. I'll go ahead and pull these clutch parts out. I want to make sure it was assembled right in the first place, but there's a friction disc. Somebody put good Kevlar clutches in it. Steel plate. Friction disc. Another steel plate. And the plates look good. The clutches are fairly new. That's a good sign. You can see how easy that clutch basket migrates in and out on the clutch hub. This is the clutch hub here in the middle. In and outer migration is one of the things you need to control to make these clutches work right. All right, so this is a big part of my fix right here. Sifting clutch retainer kit. Let me show you what this is. The White Knuckler brand Chopper Zinc knife comes in handy. All this is a nylon ring with a step on it. It replaces this steel ring and springs in here. And what it does is this little step is going to hold the clutch basket back when the clutches migrate out and allow that space that gives you free clutch release, eliminate all that drag and lurch that you get from that. And if you look at this, there's different depths in these recesses, and you put a snap ring in there. You find a depth that works best for your motorcycle, and you put a snap ring in there, and that's going to give you the best hold to control the migration of your clutch basket. You need a little bit of play there, but not a lot. So you're going to find the best depth, set it up. It's hard for me to show you down in there on the motorcycle because it's just really hard to see with all these clutch hub studs in the way. They're lettered A, B, and C for the different depths. So as I set this up, I'm going to be talking my way through it. You're probably not going to be able to see, so I want to show you that now. There's the instructions. I don't need them. I probably read them the first time when I was a teenager. I'm going to use a little 90-degree hook pick and a pair of pliers to pull these springs out. Just going to destroy these and throw them away. And then use the hook pick again to pull out this steel ring. And this is something else you're going to get rid of. You can see this one's all banged up on the inside. It's somebody's done something horrible to it in there over the years, but throw that out too and replace that with this sifting ring. I know no one will ever see it, but I know what's there. You know what's there. That's all that matters. And I'm going to go ahead and take the outer spring plate and the springs off of the stock Harley-Davidson clutch pressure plate, put it on the Indian Larry, build an aluminum pressure plate. Real simple. Just move the springs over. Move the spring plate over. These little dimples are going to seat themselves in the center of each spring, so you got to get everything lined up. Move the clutch adjuster screw over. Compress everything with my makeshift tool again. I'm just going to install the whole assembly. Then your 3 clutch hub nuts that go on there have a little groove machined in them, and that groove goes on the inside and is actually going to lock into these dimples so they can't spin off. So you got to make sure you put those grooves on the inside, not the outside. Okay, now you need to tighten the outer spring plate down. It needs to be equally tightened. So there's different measurements that they go on. You need to consult your manual depending on the year you have, because there's different length clutch springs. But because I'm using the Indian Larry plate, it's a whole different ballgame. That clicking is where those slots in the nut are hitting the dimples in the spring plate. I always tighten this down to 750 thousandths, which is 3/4 of an inch. Right now, this part is critical. So you got to put your jam nut on here. It's going to lock down your clutch adjusting screw. I always screw it all the way in, just finger tight to where it bottoms out, and back it off a little bit. And then you want to loosen your clutch cable so there's no tension there. And you want to go in with your screw till it starts to contact. Then I always go out a half a turn. They say a quarter turn. I go out a half a turn before I lock it down. That's the best way to get your clutches to hold, but at the same time get good release. That's it. I lock the jam nut down. Now you can see there's very little clutch basket migration there when you release the clutch, but you can see the space between the pressure plate and the clutch disc. Gives plenty of free float. Another thing you want to check for is you want to make sure that when you pull the clutch lever, that the center screw is coming out straight and not wobbling off to an angle. Because if that's happening, you got other issues and there's something else you need to address. Generally, you don't see it, but I'm ready to put the primary cover on and go take this thing for a test ride. Before I put the primary cover on real quick, I want to show you. This is a Sturgis FXB 1980. And the reason it's called the FXB is the FX is the Super Glide model, and the B stands for belt drive. And it's got a belt drive primary and a rear belt drive on it also. This is the first year Harley-Davidson did this. This was kind of the trial model for the belt drives to see if they would work, to see if the public would accept them. Really smooth ride compared to the chain. A lot quieter than chains for sure. Makes a lot less of a mess. I think time's proven that the belts are really a way to go. The chopper community accepted belt primaries a long time ago. Most chopper guys like a chain in the rear. But regardless, I just wanted to show you that's what makes this bike so special. It's the twin belt drives. Pretty cool thing Willie G. Davidson did in 1980. I use the Indian Larry aluminum clutch pressure plates on everything I'm building just because I love the guy. I loved his work. He was a huge inspiration on me. I think he helped change the custom motorcycle world. So go support Indian Larry and his legacy at IndianLarry.com. Buy one of these clutch pressure plates for your 4-speed Harley-Davidson. Cool thing to have. And put on your bronze thrust washer for your starter pinion. Last part out of my old stainless steel prison cafeteria tray is the shifter arm. I'm ready to take this thing outside and see how the clutch works now. tell you how much of a difference that makes. I've dealt with a lot of sloppy 4-speed clutch situations. Just enlarging the holes in those friction plates and putting that sifting retaining ring in there, those two things will solve most of the problems in your Harley-Davidson 4-speed clutch. Another thing you want to check for is primary belt or chain tension. If that chain or belt is too tight, that's going to cause you a lot of problems too, so you need to make sure you have enough slack there, but I noticed I had plenty on the Sturgis, so I wasn't worried about it. These are things you need to know. If you got a Harley-Davidson with a 4-speed gearbox in it, this is how you make your clutch work properly every time.